at any point you feel like you've got a question that you want to ask me, just feel free to unmute and then ask me. Okay? So yeah. Next slide says, so someone somewhere in the world is looking for the exact skill that you have. Not something more than you have or not less than you have, but exactly what you have to offer. Someone out there is looking for it, and better yet, they're actually ready to pay for it. I was laughing the other day. My boss was looking for someone who understands Git. If anyone, like, I'm sure most of you guys know Git, the version control sort of system. Yeah, my boss was looking for someone who can come and become like a Git expert at our organization. And it was very difficult for him to find that person. But like there are so many people out there who know Git very well, who've been using Git probably ever since its primary inception. But they were nowhere to be found because they were not exposed. They don't write about it, some of them. And like they're not posting about it. So yeah, so we got into that. We actually had to learn ourselves some of the things because we were trying to introduce sort of a workflow for Git for versioning our system. So we've got like the various environments that we use at work. Wanted to make sure that we've got it in a good workflow. Yeah, so I think this one quote I really love. It says it's attributed to Albert Einstein. It says a ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. So I think again it emphasizes the point of exposure. That the moment you stay in your own closet, in your own space, in your own private environment, you're safe, you're good, but it's not what you're meant for. Like there's more to life than just being safe. You should try to explore more. You should try to become adventurous. You should try to do more with your life. So you should always try to learn more, educate yourself, and expose yourself more out there. It's dangerous, but yeah, there's a disadvantage to exposing yourself because sometimes people will bully you online if you maybe post something, speak your mind out there. People will start bullying you and people will say all sorts of things. But I think that's what life is all about. You shouldn't take it to heart that people don't really accept me. You should, live your life for yourself and, explore whatever you want to explore comfortably. And then, yeah, so I think the key lessons that I'm going to try to draw out today are that, one, you should never feel like an imposter. Okay, because as young techies, half the time you read about something and you feel like you know about it, and then the next time someone talks about it, you feel like, this thing, I don't think I know it really well, and then you start feeling like maybe that time I was saying I know it, I was being an imposter because I really don't know it. I personally think that there is a disadvantage to thinking like that because everybody feels like that at some point. It's just a case that the more you read about something, the more you know about something, the more you feel like you don't know about it. But you should always feel comfortable about it because that is growing. That's how you grow. The more you start knowing what you don't know, you're now starting to grow. That's why even as humans in life, you'll see babies, young children, they'll always, get inquisitive as they grow. They'll start being curious. They want to know if, fire really burns. What happens if I touch fire? What happens if I do this? And, they're trying to experiment a lot because growth is all about curiosity. The moment you stop being curious, that's the moment you stop learning. And then the other thing I want to make sure that everyone understands is that you should learn to appreciate yourself, as who you are, appreciate what you know and appreciate what you don't know. And, just put it out there And so the case in point here, I know many people on social media, and most of us have the sort of weakness of trying to satisfy people on social media. So each time you want to craft a post, you want to make sure that everyone likes it and it gets millions of likes. And half the time, we're always disappointed because it rarely goes viral. Probably you get 2 likes, you get 0 likes. Nobody will even take cognizance of it. And like you start feeling like you're not really doing it, and yet you really wanted to impress people. So each time you post on social media or on any platform rather, you should try to just say your story, sell your story out there. If it doesn't get received, just put it out there, and do it for yourself. Just speak your truth. Yeah, I think that's the better way to say it. Speak your truth, no matter what, no matter who likes it, no matter how people receive it. Just speak your truth like that. And then yeah, the last point, I think this one probably you've heard it over and over again. Never stop trying to get better. Never stop learning. Okay. So yeah, like when I was at university, I think I started like sharing stuff on a few blogs and few platforms, and then I didn't like it because sometimes my post would not get many readers, and then I stopped, and I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And then this is a lesson that I've learned over the time, that growth doesn't, if you're telling your story, you probably you probably post for like 2 years and nobody will recognize you, and then at some point someone will get interested in what you're posting. I think the first post that I created that got a lot of traction was on Medium. I posted on Medium. It was a post about Angular, and to this very day, I still have like people interacting with me on that post, like people asking questions, people asking about a lot of stuff. But it's like it was my first post, and I was so excited. And then it taught me a lesson that even as much as I was not the best person, I was not the person who understood Angular more than everyone else out there. I think people liked something about how I told the Angular story, you know, and they would always come, because Angular is a very big framework, and there are so many people who've spoken about it. But people would always come to also check out my posts about it, and I would feel really proud of myself. So the lessons there are that there are a billion people, or over a billion people in the world, but there's only one version of you, and you're the only one who can tell your story, or that story that you want to tell, the way you do. And definitely there's somebody who will connect with how you tell that story somewhere in the other side of the world. It may not be in Zimbabwe, but someone out there is actually interested in listening to what you have to say. So also you should learn to create like social media authentic profiles on social media. This is sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works, but I've noticed that the thing with engagement on social media, it's a very complex dynamic. But if you're about the software development life, or if you're interested in something, don't say because it's not in fashion, then you want to stop talking about it because it's not in fashion today. I think if you've got something that interests you, you should just talk about it, whether or not it's in fashion, whether or not people are talking about it, whether or not it's what's trending. And then yeah, just post your mind, and as you learn, just jot stuff down, probably on a personal blog, on Medium, on various platforms. Just put it there. Just expose your mind out there. Let people react on it. One day, it'll go viral. And don't mind who will read it. And I know you'll make mistakes along the way, but mistakes are how we learn. Also, you should participate in forums. I think most of us know about Stack Overflow. I think every other developer or aspiring developer knows about Stack Overflow. And sometimes, people are afraid of, asking a question and getting voted down or getting that. I think there's a funny response. What does it say? I think it was. I think there's something called an off-topic question or something like that on Stack Overflow. So people are afraid of that, and sometimes people are afraid of even answering because they're afraid of getting voted down. But I think getting voted down is a part of growth. It's how you learn again. Yeah, so you should not be afraid of that. You should just, if you feel like there's a question that you may attempt to answer, you go and research about it, and then you just post your answer and how you understand these things. And then if someone's gonna come and correct you, you actually learn more. Yeah, and don't ever feel like oh, this is like at some point I got this. I don't know if it's a syndrome or what, that I know it all, and that I've learned probably the hard way that it's not good, because sometimes if you feel in discussions because you're so arrogant and stuff like that. So don't be a know-it-all. Accept that we are diverse. Everyone knows something, and there are definitely going to be people who know a topic better than you. So yeah, you should always accept that. And then don't be afraid to speak your mind. You may be wrong, but then that's how you learn. And also, each time you see an event advertised like this one, yeah, you should not be afraid of giving a talk. I think I've been I'm one of the first tech event organizers in Zimbabwe, like from way back. From when I think I was second year or third year in college. That's when I started organizing events. I think, yeah, we started together with chaps again. The first GDG in Zimbabwe, which was like the first talk technology. So yeah, I was one of the first. And then last but not least, you should always try to contribute to open source. So this one has been like the biggest thing. Okay, the one thing that I've not done in my life very well. At some I think when I was on internship, my boss is the guy who asked me to open a GitHub account, and I started contributing to our own small open source project. But then after internship, like I really didn't like the traction that open source project had taken. So because like very few people had checked it out, and I didn't like it, so I kind of stopped. But it's only recently that I've started understanding that contributing to open source is also a part of exposing yourself. That I've also begun to look for projects that I can contribute to. So yeah, you should always try to. I think the problem with most people out there is that when you think about open source, they're thinking about contributing to the Linux kernel or to Node.js or to Laravel or to all sorts of this, to Angular, to Firebase libraries and so forth, and all these sorts of big libraries. But then sometimes it's not about starting big. Sometimes you can just let's say you're in your second year and you go on GitHub looking for ideas, you find a project that interests you, and then you take it on. You probably copy some of the code from there, and then you modify it. Modify some of the code to make it work probably better. Sometimes you can just commit that and request a pull request, make a pull request, and you'll be surprised that sometimes your pull request will get accepted and you'll become a contributor. So it's just as simple as that. You don't need to be like hunting for the big projects, especially when you're starting. Just start small. And right now, like there was a time when I think this is like one point I left out in the slides. I used to like just after finishing college actually. I started a small co-working space or innovation hub, if you want to call it that. It's like one of the first innovation hubs in Zimbabwe, and it's called B2C Co-working. It's at Batanai Gardens. So when we started that with my friends, like I kind of left the coding space and the tech space. Like I just became a community manager, and I was so interested in doing that. And I gave it like a whole year, and I gave it my everything. And then it was at that point, after a whole year of leaving code, that I felt like I was a fish that was out of water. Like my life wasn't interesting anymore, and I would like organize events, tech events, and watch my friends show off their demos. And like in I was, I didn't have anything to show. I was not even coding at the time. I was just running around in offices, organizing meetings, and dealing with all sorts of bureaucracy. So it was like very late when I said, you know what, let me get back into coding. And then by that time, I had to, learn new languages because some of the stuff that I knew before I had stopped, was not in use anymore, and a lot had changed. Because I know before finishing college, I was like a very good Android developer, but after finishing college, I stopped doing Android, and a year later, I think we had Kotlin around, and people were now using Kotlin now, and I was like, guys, what's happening? So I think there's a small lesson in that. If you really feel like you like something, I think you should just do it, and don't stop doing it, and don't stop researching about it, because it'll just work to your disadvantage if you stop researching and working on what you love. So yeah, I think after having said all this, I feel like there's you guys are on a journey, and you probably want to stand out. I hope these tips that I've shared make sense, and you connect with them. Yeah, I hope you make it in life. And also, guys, follow me on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle. Those of you that can see it, please follow me on Twitter. I follow back. And yeah, so I think I'll open up the floor to questions. Rodney, I think I'll give it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Okay, so you talked about joining forums, contributing to forums like Stack Overflow, and you happen to also be the GDG lead. So there are a lot of people actually talk down about joining these communities and contributing to forums. So I just wanted you to probably just say a word or two about how communities like the GDG has probably helped you in your journey.
Okay, so I think that's a very good question. Like I said earlier, I think in my presentation, I've never applied for a job blindly. I know a lot of people do this, and I don't have any bad feeling about it. Like, I know many people just go to Zesa, go to Econet, and then leave their CVs. But personally, because of leading these communities and running around and giving talks, a lot of people know me because of that. So a lot of people are keen to hear what I have to say about a topic, and so if anyone, I think every now and then I just get people inviting me to work with them, or to help them with their projects and stuff like that. It's because of these communities and participating in these communities, you know. So I think it has got a very big impact. And you see, one thing that I learned late is that imagine the impact that running around in local communities has had on my life. Like, I'm always getting job offers and stuff like that. I only imagine if I had also been running around on international platforms the way I did on the local stage, you know. I also imagine what kind of job offers I would be getting, you know. So it's very important that you participate in these things. It's how people get to know about you. You know, like if you build your own open source, or if you build your own project, a rockstar project, and never show it out or never go to other developers to share it with them, then, you know, no one will know about it. It will probably just be your project that you think it's a rockstar project, and then it will die like that. It won't have an impact on you. So it's very important for you to to share, to contribute in forums and communities. I see some questions here from. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to read out those questions for you, so you can go ahead and answer them.
Yeah, I think there's someone who actually said I started by making a pull request to a Laravel package, and it got accepted. You know, so I think that's a big milestone. You know, because Laravel is a very big framework out there. So it's yeah, but like, I think that also speaks to what I said last in the presentation, that if you've got you know, something, if you're using, let's say, a software, and you feel like, I can change it and, you know, make it better this way. I think you just do it, and then probably make a pull request. If it gets accepted, then woo, you know, yeah, you're good. So yeah, I think even women is got like a very good experience with that. So there's someone who says, you have any advice or message for women in tech? Women in tech, I think Taps will know this better because he's working for the big companies. I know that there are so many opportunities for women in tech, especially women in tech, because most of these companies are trying to bridge that technology and digital sort of divide, or that gap, you know, between the number of men and the number of women participating in tech. So because of that, they are more keen to listen to what, you know, ladies have to say. You know, they if you're a lady in tech, then you've got a better chance of getting listened to by a tech company. You know, I remember, like, I know when I started the GDG, it was the first GDG was at HIT, and I had a lot of support from the guys at Google, and they would send me these so many opportunities for women, and I would share with some of the ladies. I think there was a big scholarship, and it was, you know, people would get some funding. I think 7,000 euros per semester for that scholarship. Called Anita something scholarship, sponsored by Google. There were also some, you know, job opportunities and so forth. So there is a lot for women to you know, take on. Something about the imposter syndrome. Can you share more on how to overcome it? I think this one it's a case of realizing that you are enough as you are, and accepting yourself as who you are, and realizing that also you know, you are growing. You know, it's okay not to know some things. It's okay also to know some things. So, because the imposter syndrome mostly comes from knowing, thinking that you know enough about a topic, and then realizing a little, you know, a little later that you actually don't know a lot about that same topic. So you then start feeling like, maybe that time I was being an imposter. This is not really my thing. I don't know a lot about this. But I feel like, when you realize that you are growing, and the only way to know about stuff is to keep learning. You even when you're starting, you're not going to know everything about a story, about a topic. Even Taps, who's working for the big companies, doesn't know everything about what he's doing. And it's a feeling that everyone has every time, that you're not you don't know stuff. So you should just accept it as it is and know that it's how you learn it from it. Because it's a feeling that keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming, I think, till you die. Because you read enough about a topic to think that and then you read more and you realize, I don't even know about this. So yeah, I think that's all I can say. You should know that you should accept it and understand that it's how you grow. You are not an imposter. You are a person who's growing.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. So I think we'll now leave this time for Tapiwa so that he can do his presentation. But I think most people are also interested in knowing how he got to where he is. So I hope you don't miss that out in his presentation. But also during his presentation, I'm also interested in knowing where everyone is actually listening from. So if you can just also type in the chat where you're listening from. If you're a student from HIT, just type there. If you're employed, just type where you're listening for. So Taps, I'll leave this time to you.
Okay, thanks. Let me just fix a couple of things. So yeah, I was editing the slide on the go also, stealing some of Andrew's points and stuff. Okay, so yeah, my name is Tapiwanashe Matangira. Nothing special about me. You can see my screen, right? Just thumbs up.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so as I was saying, nothing special about me. I was born in Glenora, raised in Chitungwiza. And then I got inspired to become a programmer at a young age. Yeah. I saw these Japanese documentaries where they are making robots fight and stuff. And my brother told me that it was through computer programming that they were able to do that. So fast forward, I just started learning programming as soon as I got my first computer. I think I was in Form 5. And then that's when the whole thing started. So I'm just gonna first talk about the general career path as a software engineer, like how I feel, how I did it to some extent, right? But how I feel like you need to do it sort of in a Zimbabwean context, because like Zimbabwe, as we know, it is always a set of challenges and stuff. So the things to look out for, and then in order for you to get on the international stage. Okay, so this talk, how is it structured? It's a general career talk, and it's a I've sprinkled some of my, I'll sprinkle some of my personal experiences in there. So, sorry. Sorry, it's 3 a.m. in the morning this side, so now you can see better, right? So what you need to do, right? You need to aim to be a good software engineer. And what does that mean? It means being a good programmer and a good project manager. So being a good programmer, that mainly comes through practice. So you need to just like become choose what you want to be, right, and live it. You need to be coding all the time. That's how like you're gonna be a good programmer, right? But also you need to be exposing yourself to other programmers. You need to be exposing yourself to other platforms, especially international platforms, so that you rate yourself against everyone else on the planet and not just someone in Zimbabwe. So these are the main things I feel you need to focus on your path to becoming a good programmer, which is data structures and algorithms. Yes, you can make software, you can make apps and everything, but data structures and algorithms is key, because in as much as being a programmer changes your mind in the way you tackle problems and stuff, data structures and algorithms also opens like a whole new chapter of possibilities and performance improvements and everything. And then in this world where we live, where everything is at scale, you really need this in order to be able to tackle the big problems. You really need to master this. So yeah, you can go on online platforms like and participate. Like for example, I was participating in Ashcode and Google Code Jam, and then there are also like other platforms like Spoj and Talk Code and stuff. You can go there and get your game on. And also read a book, like make it a habit. There is a book called Introduction to Algorithms. So what many people wanna do, right? They wanna read about these topics for the exam or for the interview, right? But I strongly believe like what really worked for me is just make it a habit of maybe buying a hard copy of the book and then just lying around, and then once a day, 10 minutes a day, you just read something, and then you learn like a little bit, and then you learn. So it adds up. After a couple of years, you'll be a different person, a different programmer than what you started out to be. And also, like when it comes to your programming languages, the ones you're using, just like take time to explore the language itself, because at times we tend to program with what we know already, and unless we meet something online or anywhere or a bug or something, we don't really explore the language we're using. So a lot of people, once the language does about 80% of what they need, they just stop learning. It's in the remaining 20% where you can become 5x or a 10x programmer. So yeah. And then also you need to be able to design systems. When you're talking of being a good programmer, you need to be able to bring different components of systems to come together and talk to each other nicely and at scale and in an efficient way. So yeah, system design. This is where Zimbabwe sort of like starts to get in your way, or the local, like there is the tech space in them. I would say it doesn't really require much out of you, right? In terms of this. So you really, side projects are king here. Like just fantasize about something big, make it and everything, even though no one is gonna use it, right? Just use the technology so that so that you open your mind, what is possible and what is not. Just be in there. So that's how I sort of got my experience. It wasn't like I was able to make this banking software with 1 million people and everything, but I kept like making side projects. For the sake of being able to support 1 million people, being able to scale up, what would happen, just experimenting, knowing your own. So you really need to make it sort of your life, to breathe it, to make it your hobby, and to get the thrills for you, not just to wait for when someone is paying you or when it leads to a job opportunity and everything. And then yeah, there is software architecture, all those kinds of stuff, and then software design patterns. So yeah, you really need to pay attention on those, because our market, like job market in Zim, can ignore those. Like the industry is still like it's not matured. It's not really. It's too basic. So at times you can get away with just being able to write any kind of code with whatever quality you produce it with, right? But if you are now going to start thinking about the international stage, you see that you are lacking. You are lacking. And in as much as a lot of people would want to think in terms of a job and everything, we fantasize about, it's not really about that. You said you need these skills in order to get a good job. But we all fantasize about making this application and it blowing up and us being rich, right? A lot of times you won't be able to get there if you don't own, especially these last three skills, because your system will simply crash before you get there. And trust me, it's very, very easy for that to do that. Like you can, I think a lot of people have met Zimbabwean software companies. They come into the tech space and then they shine a little bit and then they disappear. If you really look into that, at times it's just a technical debt, like bad system design and everything. It was hard to maintain, and then the developers end up leaving, and then the customers got frustrated, and then the whole thing dies out. So if you're going for the long game, if you want that international success, you really need also to pay attention to these three. And then yeah, as Andrew was saying, exist on an international stage, read books. Yeah, we know that like we also need to be cognizant of our environment and stuff, but at times it helps to just ignore what's going on around you, like the mediocre opportunities around you and everything, and just like bury yourself in a book and hone the technical skills and just have faith that I will find, like my success will find me. But reading books, like you're just preparing yourself for when the opportunity comes, that you will be ready. And yeah, so in as much as going outside and programming, and then you just need to strike a balance where you, whatever job you're gonna pick or whatever project you're gonna pick, evaluate the amount of money you're getting or what you're getting from it, right? The moment it starts taking away from you your ability to get home and then expand on your knowledge, that is a trap. Because if your job is so tiring that you cannot read your books and expand your knowledge, it's trapping you on that same level forever. Actually, it actually decline. You actually decline in value, because we all know that if you get stuck with a certain project or a certain company for a long time, and then you get out of that, and then you want to go to a new company, most of the times technology would have moved forward, and you're only concentrating on a specific stack which is now obsolete. So you really need to put a very important weight on your growth time, your reading, your expanding your knowledge and everything. And then yeah, expose yourself. Like Andrew was saying, go to these be online, go to these TED talks, participate, give talks and everything, publish your work and stuff. It really helps. And then this is the warning I was talking about. Yeah, so the what we call crew depths, CRA depths, I don't know, like create, read, update, and delete. So yeah, the market, right? I will say this like from my personal point, right? So I taught myself to program. I think I was in Form 5, and then yeah, and then go to uni, and then yeah, great teachers there and everything. So I was making Android apps, right? And then it was fun. Like you make apps and then you get paid and then you get the bag and everything. And then I applied for an internship at Google. So yeah, initially I applied for an internship. I was still at it, right? And then yeah, the interviews, like they were okay. Like I made it past several rounds of interviews and everything. But what I truly learned from there was, all this while I learned a lot of stuff like when I was starting to program, right? But as soon as I could make money, right, I was stuck in a loop where I was just like creating stuff, putting it into a database and then retrieving it and then presenting it to the user. That was all I was ever doing in all the applications I was making, because that was what was paying me. There was no ever need for me to put in a fancy algorithm in there or to think of whatever. As soon as people need a system where you just log in, you present what's in the database, enter new stuff, and then you're done. Like, it was a trap. And then later on, I just said to myself, no, in as much as this is what's giving me money, right, I need to focus on myself, career development. Like, why is everyone talking about this system design architect? Yes, we learned about it in school, right? But the money was coming from somewhere else, which is like, I thought I was a master system architect, just because like I could do these CRUD applications. But I started then reading books and seeing what else was out there, right? Going into open source projects, like just reading the code and seeing that, oh, in as much as I am doing this and it's paying me, right, it's only meeting the demands of the local market, which is really small compared to the international market. So I really need to start doing side projects that let me expand on my knowledge. So that's how I always praise side projects, because I got to learn a lot. But in terms of what was giving me money, it was just simple stuff like because usually a lot of people, when you learn programming, it's a very steep curve initially, but you get to some point where you sort of plateau, and then you feel like you know it all, because you're not really learning anything new. Why? Because you're repeating the same stuff every day and it's giving you money, so you think that's the end goal. You get it, but it's not. There is like way more after that, and it's usually it's a theoretical, so a lot of people never get the time or to look into that. And then yeah, it's the same with the salary and a good guard yourself from the good salary trade. Yeah, so you can get a job, and then by Zimbabwean standards, you're doing well, and then you get stuck there, and then when that job, like when you lose that job and everything, you go on to the next company, or there's not much career growth because you just like got that job and then you got comfortable and never seeked to improve yourself. And then yeah, the other thing now, the other side of it, now you're a programmer, now you know how this technical stuff and everything, but you also need to be a good project manager. You also need to be a good people manager, and you also need, more importantly, to know to become someone who's easy to work with, someone who's easy to manage, someone who's dependable. Like when you're given an issue to fix, your manager doesn't want you to constantly ping them and ask them for what to do next. They just want you to come back with a solution. So how do you best learn this? Seek opportunities to lead, like be it in your assignments at school or in those like techno groups for those who go to HIT and stuff. Like just seek opportunities where you are the leader, and then look closely at how frustrating it is when you're working with a group of people who are just like not involved in the project, or just like want you to do the job in which you would have delegated to them, right? So you really learn something that whatever frustrates you as you're leading that, right? You then need to like take care of that when you are not the leader. You really that's an important lesson to say, this is my manager, they expect something from me, so I gotta deliver, because I know how frustrating it is to be managing someone and they're not doing their part. Okay, so yeah, I think that's the most important lesson on there. And then do end-to-end projects and become all-rounded. Yeah, so when we talk of end-to-end projects, we mean program the system, but also be involved in deploying it, talking to people, going to market and everything, so that you know everything that's involved in the process. Because a lot of programmers tend to focus on the technical side only, and then but your dream company, your dream startup is a business. It's not code, it's a business. So you also need to know the other side of things. In as much as they need the technical side because it's tech oriented, you also need the business side because you want to start a business. So take time to be involved in end-to-end projects. Like it could be your side project, or it could be just helping out in other people's projects, so that you know the environment you're operating in, so that you stop fantasizing that I'm just going to create an app in my hostel and then click launch and then 1 million users come and then I put adverts or I got bought out. And you actually need to get on the ground and learn that what it takes to start a startup and all the effort that is required from that. And then, yeah, be active in dev communities. Networking is key. And then build your brand. Like when your name is mentioned, what immediately comes to people's minds is very important, because you are literally, they will advocate for you. You know, like you get the job opportunity or the project, right? When like people have already like advocated for you, and what you just have to do is to show up. You get it. So in as much as you can apply for stuff or expose your stuff to everything, there is power in having advocates who are like in places you normally wouldn't be. You get it. So yeah, be active in dev communities and focus on your brand. When you are given a project, deliver, right? So that when everyone else is looking for someone to do their project, they know that maybe devs are sketchy. Once you pay them, you don't find them, right? But be that one dev they have trust in to say, but if you give this one a project, they deliver. You know, that will make a ton of difference. That will make a ton of difference. Because when you're going to start out, you'll be flooded with requests, right? Requests to make these systems and everything. And as a developer, every day, someone is approaching you like with an idea, wanting to make a project. Yeah, there is no short supply of people wanting to work with you on their projects, but the quality differs. So when you're delivering, when you're constantly doing a good job, you start to get a lot of good quality clients, as compared to just like having people who are not even sure what they want. Like those projects they've just like thought of, and then they are not even serious about, but just because they are the closest dev, they know they want you to say, come and work on this and everything. Whereas they are not even willing to raise capital for it or anything like that. So yeah, your brand matters. You attract what you are. You get it. Like if you don't deliver, I believe you attract clients who really don't need the project to be delivered, who are also playing games. If you're playing games, you attract people who are playing games, something like that. And then go for what you want directly, right? I had applying for the dream job. Yeah, so for me, for example, it was just daring to dream and in applying for the job. With me and Andrew, I think, and Kudzi Chasinda would apply for these like big tech companies. Like if you write hello world, then go and apply, it's fine. You know, because at times you get to know what's required for that job once you've applied, and then you start working towards that. If you don't apply, you miss out. You don't know the requirements, you don't know the experience. At times, like, you just be scared of the company at a distance when they're actually looking for people like you. but you are busy saying that I wouldn't fit in, I wouldn't be. So just apply. Just apply. One day experience. Like if you look online, these people will be telling you, I got the job at Google after 6 months, just 6 months after starting to write code. It's because they are applied. At times you'll be surprised what's really required of you. But the most important thing is, like, if you work towards something specifically, your chances are going to be high than if you just like doing whatever you are and then trying to attain everything. It's impossible. At times you just need to focus. If you want that dream job, apply for that and then learn as you go. Same as with creating your career and stuff, like whatever you want, do that directly. Don't sort of say there is a path which is well defined, like people like these are the ones who get jobs like this, or for me to be a software engineer I just need this paper ABCD. No, this degree or something. I'm not saying like a degree is bad, but I'm saying you want to be a software engineer. So now become a software engineer. What does being a software engineer mean? What does it mean to you? Like, are you good at programming? Like, are you just do that stuff? Go for it directly. Don't try and go around bushes to say it's because my lecturer is not showing up or whatever. Like, putting a lot of stuff between you and the thing. Like, if you want this specific thing, become it. Go for it directly, and then you see the results manifest. Don't give yourself excuses or anything like that. And then yeah, so this is pretty much it. I know it's a bit convoluted, but yeah. So yeah, I think this is my Twitter handle. I think what's his name? The lead also mentioned something about me sharing my story. So yeah, so what happened with me is as I was saying, I started programming in Form 5, right? And then I would go on these online forums and ask questions and everything. I was looking back at some questions I was asking, right? They're really stupid. But yeah, I would get Google engineers reply. I think it's on Quora. On Quora, if you ask a question, you can actually like get a legit person to reply. So I was getting these Google engineers replying at me, and then it just became a dream after replying me, and then it just became a dream after that. So yeah, they were so nice and everything. I'm hoping in their ears maybe they were speaking to someone with experience, right? But I was just like a kid in a cafe in Shtungis and everything. So I really felt the impact of that, like being on the international stage, and I wanted it so bad. So yeah, fast forward, teaching myself Java and everything, coming to HIT and then meeting Andrew, or doing all these sort of hackathons. Yeah, we first one, I think it was the hackathon and stuff, yeah. And start getting exposed to more stuff, how uni is different from high school. But I then like started applying at these like tech companies and everything. And then so when I was about to go to attachment, I also applied to Google, right? And then I actually did the interviews around the time you'd finish your attachment in Zimbabwe. So yeah, and then so I passed the couple, and then I failed at the end, right? But yeah, it was an experience. The fact that I made it through the first set of rounds of the interviews, like, really gave me like motivation and the idea that it's actually possible, it's actually doable. Because in my experience, like, I'd fantasized about becoming a Google engineer for so long that I was sort of now worshipping it, right? To the extent that I was now scared to say, like, it's like people like me won't really, but I applied either way, right? And then also I was doing this code jam challenge and everything. So I got exposure to those interviews, kind of questions, data structures and algorithms questions. So yeah, and then so that failed. then of course I was heartbroken and everything, and then like sort of forgot about it. And then later on, I think in 2019, that's when they came back and said, yeah, we looked at your profile. Are you still interested in working like at Google, because we see that you have applied before? And then I was like, yes. And then we started the interviews again. But this time around, like, I was a different person. I finished my degree and everything, and also like I was practicing what I was talking about. In as much as I was going to work making this application on the side, I was doing those data structures and algorithms question for the sake of wanting to grow as a software engineer, not for the sake of getting the degree or for the sake of getting the job and everything. So to the extent that like when the interviews came, yes, I did preparation and stuff, but I could feel it that I was a different kind of software engineer and stuff. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, I know I tend to speak in a lot of, in a way that's a bit convoluted, like a lot of thoughts just rush in my head at the same time. So you can ask questions to get clarification.
Okay, I can see you, someone who's always had his eyes like on the bigger prize. You talked even about applying for Google during attachment. For most of us, we're scared of even doing that. We don't even dream. Most people don't even dream about applying to the big companies because they are scared of failing. But you took that as the motivation to actually perform better. And the other thing that I managed to get from your presentation was, not you talked about being in a trap like in Zim. When people start paying you for doing the little stuff, you're probably creating small app and all that. And it reminded me of this other quote which says, don't confuse motion with progress. Like a rocking chair has motion but it goes nowhere. So you find out that after probably a year or so, you've remained at only one position. You only know the things that you started knowing, and those are the same technologies that you've been using. You don't know anything new. So you also have to just do probably side projects that will help you grow instead of thinking of probably getting paid for some simple task. So, but I also wanted to ask, in terms of you, I know Andrew actually touched about this, that he started with Android development. Then by the time he stopped for a while, and by the time he wanted to come back, there was Kotlin and all that. So it's something that confuses a lot of people. You say you want to start doing probably, let's say, React, then you find out that Vue is now a thing, and it seems that it will be the one which will be used later on, and you're just confused about what to do at the moment. So if you can touch just for a few minutes on that, knowing what should you go about looking at those trends, what should you do, or you should just focus on what you're doing at the moment and probably look for a market for that?
Oh yeah, so you're talking about frameworks. So the thing is, like, frameworks come and go, right? What you really need is to be. I always tell people, like, when you want to learn programming, just pick one programming language, know it and know it well. Like, look under the hood. When a new programming language comes, right, you can learn it in a week or less or more, slightly more, something like that. So when you are in web development, right, use a framework, know it really well. Or when you're in Android or mobile development, use a certain framework, know it really well, right? But more importantly, know the fundamentals, like look under the hood, like really explore that framework, right? To the extent that when you get to a new framework, all you need to do is to translate your knowledge to say, basically, if it's a web framework, basically the framework runs on, like, the web runs on HTML. So whatever framework is gonna be, it's gonna need to send a bit of HTML, and CSS and everything to the front end, right? And the browser interfaces in this way, right? So you really need to know, like what does Web 3.0 mean? What does Web 2.0 mean, right? To the extent that when you're now reading, like, working on with a new framework, you sort of like know that this framework is just a different way of doing this specific thing, because it's not about the framework, it's about what you are trying to accomplish. A lot of frameworks, they just want to accomplish the same goal but in different paths. So don't sort of like focus on knowing the framework, like the particular framework, but focus on knowing the underlying concepts, which whatever they are trying to achieve. You get it? I don't know, like, if I'm being clear, but so yeah, in terms of job market, yes, it's gonna help that you have these frameworks, like, you know them and everything and stuff, right? But in interviews, at times, like, a lot of people, they go to interviews and then you're asked to write code, you're asked to connect to the database and everything, and then you get the job, right? But if you're, in my experience, when I go for an interview, we just talk, and then they never ask me to actually do, like, those things which are framework specific, to write the actual code. Because from talking to me, you actually know that with the way I'm talking about this technology, right? Obviously, I know what's behind it. Like, obviously, I can figure it out, because I don't think executing a specific action using a certain framework is the ultimate goal. I'm thinking more of the architecture, more of the system design, more of the theoretical stuff, like, that goes into that, more of the conceptual level and everything. So yeah, you have the frameworks on your CVs, but also you have the knowledge. And when you have the knowledge, it sort of like just resonates, like, it just sort of glows out of you, that any person who meets you, they immediately want you. You get it, even though they did not test you on a specific framework. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, that
So,
did.
for example, like, in my career, I've been an Android developer, pretty much. But right now, I'm an iOS developer. You get it? And I've never done, like, iOS development anyway. So, but just because, like, they're just different frameworks, but mobile development, in its essence, is the same thing.
Okay. So I don't know if anyone else have any questions. You can unmute yourself, then you ask. So I think that means there are no questions for now. Okay, so I think there's a question in the chat. Can you see it?
Yeah, I've seen the question. So yeah, it's a game of balance. It's definitely a game of balance. The high grades, you need those, like, they open doors, but when you get through the door, you need to prove yourself. So yeah, you need the high grades, but you also need, it's not like two things which are say distinct or parallel. You need to pay attention to how you are getting the high grade. You don't really need to say, I'm focusing on programming, and so I'm not gonna, like, my grades will go low or something like that. What you need to do is, if you really get that good grade because you are really applying yourself. For example, if you get a good grade in data structures and algorithms at uni, right? Because you claimed the stuff, it's not gonna help you a lot, because you're going to start over again when you're now, like, I made that mistake in uni. I didn't pay attention to some of the courses and I regret it, right? And I got mediocre grades. But my whole mindset was wanting to just pass, you get it? But if you just like say, oh, I'm taking this course and then you focus on it, like you really explore the course and you are really involved in the course, right? You get to kill two birds with one stone. You know, if it's a Java course and then you really dive into it, right? You get to learn Java at the same time you get to get the good grade. It's not. I don't really feel like it's mutually exclusive. But in your free time now, what you do in your free time, I think, is now what makes the difference. I had maybe a sort of an advantage that for me, programming is also a hobby. So, you know, so if I learn something in class and then I'm experimenting with it at night and I don't really feel like I'm studying because I'm actually fascinated about it. But I just try to kill two birds with one stone. Like time is the most important resource you can ever have. You might think that anything else is more important. Skill is just like time translated into a sort of like connections in your brain. You get it? So you really don't have the luxury of saying, time, this is the time for just getting a good grade, and then at some other time I'll start focusing on doing the actual thing, because you are repeating and you're wasting time. You get it? You're wasting time, because what you may think is that after you have the good grades, you still have time to focus on becoming a good programmer. Then life hits you, and then you realize that you actually don't have time. As soon as you get into the industry or life comes along, you have other stuff to focus on. So in the end, you maybe get stuck with the good grades, and then you never get the opportunity to actually learn to be a good programmer, because like you found your first job and then you have to take care of your family, or you get married immediately, and then a lot of things just like start to come your way, and then it's a dream that you let go. At the same time, like if you focus on programming and make your grades suffer, you can find success, but you are simply just reducing your chances. You're deliberately reducing your chances, and like it does not really help to close some doors for yourself. And especially the fact that you're coming from like third world countries and everything, at times a degree will just like help make your case to get some of these opportunities.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Another question in the chat.
Okay. To become a software engineer at Google, you need to be like, a degree is not really the like, yeah, the job requirements degrees, but you can actually get a job without a degree. And then computer science and software engineering. These are like computer science is a science, and then software engineering sort of practical application. I don't know, more of projects implementation. Yeah, both are equally good, but to get a job, like there are many roles, so you just need to be good at what you do and apply. The main step is applying. Apply for the job, and then you see the specific requirements after you apply. Because they really like route for you. They really want you to get the job. So as soon as you apply and then you make it, right, they give you stuff to practice for the interview. They give you stuff they expect, like they give you all the information you need to succeed in getting the role. But that said, also, like, I think the biggest part that's actually hard is getting the interview. You know, like getting the interview is actually harder than passing the interview, because passing the interview,
they really work with you. If you really put in the time, your chances are high. But getting the interview, like most people are throwing in their CVs. So on that, right, I don't have the magic bullet to that. But my CV had a lot of projects, most of them side projects. It had a lot of projects which included vastly different kinds of technologies and everything. Even though it was mainly Android and then some backend technologies, right? But yeah, so I just didn't apply and say that I didn't have a degree. So what happened with me is the application which actually got me here, like it's not my CV with the degree. It's the application I made for the internship, like with those side projects and everything, because I didn't have anything to show for that. I only had my A levels and a list of projects I was doing on the side. So yeah, that's what made the difference. So yeah, apply, but also, and also like when you're writing your CV and everything, just put everything. Don't try to make it look pretty. Just put everything, just throw yourself out there. And then also your online profile should support your claims. You can say that you are writing a lot of code, you have all these projects, but your GitHub is not showing any activities. So just like you have like where you can point to, have these projects, they are deployed here. I'm working on a lot of code, and your GitHub, even though they are private repository, your source code version, whatever, you put a link in your CV, it's showing activity. What some of the questions they ask you in the initial interview, they ask you like, how often do you write code? You know, so yeah, you just need to, you need to have that geeky vibe, and then they can pick it up. And you don't really necessarily have to have a certificate that software engineering or computer science, or think of saying which is better between computer science and software engineering. Like everything, like what they really want is you to be the software engineer or to be the computer scientist. Like it has to, you have to sound like one. You have to actually know what you're talking about. Yeah, because yeah, I think that's the most important thing. Like focus on growing, and the papers, they open doors, but they actually need you to be what you're applying for.
And for someone interested in knowing the degree program you are studying at HIT?
I did computer science at HIT. And then, yeah, I did computer science. And I don't have any other degree. I don't have any other.
Okay. Then you can answer the last question, which is there, I think, and I think that will be the last question that we take.
Okay. How to stop being a beginner? I don't know how, but I'll just talk in my experience. So in my experience, like, yeah, I considered myself a self-taught, right? Before I came to VI, and then like you came to VI, you see like more people with more wisdom and everything. I think when I stopped being a beginner was when I could actually solve my friends' problems, you know, using code. So it was something I did, right? And then they would always see me on the computer, and then they didn't know what I was doing, right? But when I actually started being able to help them, like with my code, that's when I started feeling like I'm legit. Yeah. So I think the moment you start creating solutions, actual solutions, I think you get a certain kind of feeling that makes you feel better, or makes you feel like you're no longer a beginner or something like that. And also, when you start talking to others, like it goes back to the issue of participating in these communities, right? So now when you come here and then like you talk to others and you actually see that you are helping others, it also helps you become like better and also acknowledge your skill.
Okay. Thank you, Tapio.
So I think the introduction to algorithms, to data structures and algorithms. Let me check that for you. Alright, I think I can just type that in the chat as your
Okay. Okay, so thank you, Tapiwa. Andrew had to go somewhere, so he left. But I think it's okay. So I'll leave this time to Mr. Makause, who's a faculty advisor at HAT for developer student clubs, so that he can just give us some closing remarks.
Okay, good afternoon, guys.
good morning.
Okay, I would like to, good morning, Tapiwa. I would like to thank Andrew and Tapiwa for their time and effort in trying to help us grow more in our careers. I hope all the students who are available in the meeting found this very useful. I would like to, I'm very happy that he emphasized on a few areas that I feel a lot of students as well as us lecturers might be looking down upon, like the vast importance of focusing on things like data structures and algorithms. Andrew talked about imposter syndrome. It's something you don't have to worry about, and I hope most of you will start applying for jobs. And one thing you should also be keen looking at this stage in your lives is number one, mentorship. Find someone who can assist you in solving these problems. If you're having challenges, just find a mentor who can assist you apart from asking these questions online. Number two is have a community. I'm happy that by the end of this session, over 30 people had attended. But in future, I hope the community continues to grow so that we can continue to share knowledge, we can continue to network, and we can continue to build each other up. Again, I would like to thank Tapiwanashe and Andrew. I don't want to overemphasize on anything they've said, but I'm looking forward to more talks and more exposure for everyone. And hopefully they'll be available in the near future to assist us with many other things. Thank you very much. Rodney, I'll give it back to you. I hope my voice was clear.
So I think we've come to the end of this meeting. Thank you all for coming.